April 6th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. After a long Boston hiatus, we are back with the PAX East 2010 show.
Let's do this.
It's so weird to be back in my real life.
It's all right.
Yeah, after that whole week, we were in Boston for PAX, and we had a week going around with the fun spot and everything, and then Anime Boston, and then a flight home, and now here we are on Tuesday.
It's actually weird. It's like I've almost come back to a new life, because everything's different now that I'm back here. Like all these things changed while I was away.
I know. Think of it. We went out and the weather was shitty. It was just rainy and cold and miserable. Mm-hmm. And we came back and the weather's beautiful and it's sunny and the sun's out.
It's like I can ride my bike to work now, which I wasn't doing before. And then also there's a little space in our office where I'm not going to explain all the details, but basically all these people moved out of our office somewhere else. So there's a whole bunch of empty desks in this one area. And, there's just all, and then the new guy, we have a new guy on the tech team. So he started working the Monday after PAX East. So it's like, it's like a completely different world I came back to.
It was actually weird, getting back to work. I kind of, on this visceral level, forgot what it was that I do. I get there and I sit down. I'm like, oh, right, this shit.
Yep.
I remember this. I almost forgot one of the passwords.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. But we're back.
Well,
and
what kind of... Wait. You're like this super professional place and you've got a situation where there's like a shared password?
No. One of the passwords of my own.
Uh-huh.
Because I have a lot of systems and a couple of them use different passwords for certain reasons.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm.
But anyway, all that aside, we're back. And this show will be a little odd because we're experimenting with video, as you all know. So... we actually, during the week between PAX and Anime Boston, recorded a series of 5 to 10 minute segments about PAX.
We thought we'd be podcasting that whole week. Ha ha ha. Lol.
Yeah, we thought we'd stream stuff out of PAX. That Sprint card and that Verizon card laughed at us.
Yeah, it was all right. But
yeah, we learned.
We still uploaded a bunch of YouTubes and stuff and other things with those. It was a good deal.
Yep, but basically this show is a little weird because we have all these segments. I'm going to kind of string them together. So if you hear any discontinuities where we kind of start up again or talk about something twice, that's just because we suck and we're complete unprofessionals at this point.
Yeah, lol.
Nah, no. It's because we're trying this new experiment. And now we're recording the wrapper to the PAX show.
Yeah, I think it was
a week
good.
Later.
I think it was good because we talked about PAX while we still remembered it. You know?
So everything in the kind of the beginning of this and the end of this is only the memories that shone through. I mean, kind of the longer you wait after an event, only the strongest impressions are the ones that you actually remember enough to talk about. So it'll be interesting if we do end up repeating anything, but hopefully not. So PAX East 2010.
Every day I'm hustling. 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 Every day I'm hustling.
So here we are, lazy asses. We were supposed to make podcasts and videos all week between PAX and Anime Boston, but we didn't.
Yeah, well, Monday I was basically dead, and Tuesday I was almost still.
We were in New
dead.
Hampshire, and Wednesday we're coming back from New Hampshire and eating dinner. And then
now it's Thursday, and
Thursday we went to MIT, and tomorrow's Anime Boston. So we really didn't make the podcasts and videos we thought we would make while we were sitting around in hotels doing nothing, because we didn't really sit around hotels doing nothing all that much. Until now.
Yeah.
Hey, so Anime Boston's tomorrow, and
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I can really easily hide it.
We're gonna do our PAX wrap-up review-ish, PAX East review-ish show while it is fresh in our minds, because come Monday we'll have a brain full of Anime Boston.
Well, I feel like it's weird doing this. I'm so used to doing the show with the microphone up in my face, doing I don't have to worry about I don't know, I feel like we're a little stilted right now.
We are quite...
losing it up. So PAX, holy shit, we were at PAX East 2010, the first PAX East. And the amazing thing about it is that, we did the preview show, and we kept having that disclaimer that if it's not as awesome if we've been making these PAXs out to be, it's not our fault. It's a new PAX, new location. We don't know 100% what it's going to be like. For all we know, they're going to cock it up. And I'm pleased to report that they did not cock it up. In fact, I would say it was 95% PAX.
It was definitely 95% PAX West. I mean,
what was different? The only difference was that the convention center in Seattle lets Joko sing for an extra 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, they're really...
And everybody fits in main events, pretty much.
Yeah. So PAX East, it was PAX West. If you're worried about what PAX West was like and you've been to PAX East, you pretty much know it's the real deal. PAX is PAX is PAX. I'm pretty confident they can pull off PAX anywhere in the U.S. that they want. Probably
Maybe anywhere in the world.
Probably anywhere in Canada. Other countries is still yet to be seen. Language barrier, cultural differences. I don't think PAX China would work really. Right
I think
off the bat.
PAX Scotland would go pretty well. There's a lot of Scottish people at this con.
I think a PAX in the UK, anywhere in the English-speaking world, they could probably rock a PAX.
They could do like a French PAX, but they'd have to get like all local enforcers.
They could probably do a German PAX. Would probably do equally the same.
I think so. So.
All right.
Yeah, but it was great. The only problem with PAX that anyone has had a real complaint about, and this is a legitimate concern, is that the main events hall was tiny. It was crazy. At PAX West, the room doesn't fit everybody for like the concerts and everything. But people, if you wait like 20 minutes after the concert starts, you can just get in. And like the keynote and the Q&A.
You could just get into the concerts at PAX East too.
Well, the Friday concert definitely. The Saturday concert was actually almost it was pretty much almost at capacity the whole time.
Yeah, but people were still walking in and out. You could go to the bathroom, you can come back.
Yeah.
It was.
But notice how the Omegathon finale and especially the keynote and the opening ceremony, the stuff people really wanted to go, that every single person going to the con, no matter what, wanted to go to the keynote and the Q&A.
Well, those were times when there were seats in there. Remember, closing ceremonies had no seats.
Yep.
Right, so everyone could fit in, and the doors were still open.
Well, luckily, because not everyone who was at the con went to that. The whole con would not have fit in there.
But the keynote and the first Q&A panel, right? They were at capacity, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know this for certain because I didn't go to them, that Q&A 2, make a strip panel, etc., were also capacity.
Yep.
Because those were events in main events where there were seats and not just openness.
Because that's the one thing about PAX that anime cons don't have. The culture is definitely you go to everything in the main events, or at least everything you want. Like the main events kind of are the anchor of the whole con. Like they're the biggest things. They're so big that like the majority of people go to many of them. And the trouble is just that main events hall in this convention center is way too small.
Yeah, it has an upper deck, which is really nice.
But it doesn't seem that many people up there. I think they said the total capacity, upper and lower, was 5,500 people.
Not enough.
They
need like 7,000.
Because there were, I think, about 16,000 people at PAX East.
Yeah, they need a 7,000 or 8,000 capacity main events.
Or they need to move somewhere where they could fit the entire con. Yeah. Like Otakon does that well with the Mariner Arena. They can fit the entire con into the cosplay.
The thing is, an anime convention, the only main event anyone wants to go to is the cosplay.
Yeah, I feel like we could fix that. We gotta have more keynotes. Like the New York Anime Festival, they did that. They had a keynote, and I think more cons
They packed the room.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big main events room, but it was the biggest room they had, and they were originally intending to put that in a smaller room.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was good.
It proves that you can do it. But, official news, I'm sure it's out there. It was announced at PAX to us by many people. But PAX is moving. PAX East is not going to be at the Heinz Convention Center because the Heinz is way too tiny.
It's still going to be in Boston at a convention center we did not know existed called the BCEC. And I have done a cursory amount of research. The BCEC appears to be about as big as the Baltimore Convention Center,
which is Otakon. That holds 26,000 people.
It might not be exactly as big. I think it is smaller, but it is still in that same size category. Gigantic rooms with hundreds of thousands of square feet with really tall ceilings,
but also many
a whole bunch of small rooms. The same sort of deal. So, PAX East will be in Boston in the BCEC probably next year and probably for the next 3 years after that.
We'll see how that works. On one hand, that's bigger. even if it's the size of the BCC in Baltimore, so 25,000 people, PAX could grow another 10,000 and then be at capacity again.
It's quite possible.
I think it'll sell out there, no matter how many people they can fit.
Oh.
I honestly think that PAX East could have, if there were no limit on registrations, 40 to 50,000 bodies. Not the bullshit turnstile they count.
See, what I'm worried about mostly is that, because an enforcer is so great, they can have a very low ratio of enforcer to attendee.
80 enforcers to 16,000 fans.
I don't think it was an 80 enforcers.
That's what they said.
Really? I don't know. We'll see. But
said there were about 80 enforcers.
We'll have to look that up. Anyway, the thing is, if you spread the geography, a gigantic convention center where covering ground is not trivial, right? You're going to need a lot more enforcers, and they might have to accept every person who applies. It's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't think they should tier it. If anything, like even the lowest, like if you're just volunteering and all you're doing is directing people, you're still an enforcer.
Yep.
But they might have to tier up as opposed to tier down. Like you've got enforcers and not totally committed enforcer, but like arch enforcer. They give them some cool title like that.
I don't know, but they're gonna need a lot of enforcers, and if that's what you want to do, you should sign up.
Yes. However, I point out a lot of the front row crew were enforcers. A lot of people we know were enforcers. Every single one of them said that they had an amazing time. That it was totally awesome.
The only thing is, like, occasionally someone would be an enforcer, and I'd be like, hey, let's go to dinner tonight. They'd be like, I got my shift, but they didn't skip their shift. They did not want to do it. They went to the shift and enjoyed the shift.
Yeah. Ro lost her voice as an enforcer, teaching people how to play games. That's not even her. She doesn't have to do that. It's not like the enforcer were like, you have to spend 4 hours teaching people to play games. She did that because it's fucking awesome.
Yep. And, it was like, oh, I can't do these other things you're doing because I got a shift for a part of the day, but they didn't care. They'd probably do it again.
Plus, the PAX party for the enforcers. I saw all the tweets. People were like, oh my God, I got Koo to sign something. I got, Mike and Jerry to sign stuff. Apparently it was a badass time.
No, all right.
I was asleep.
So we got a list of things that went down at PAX. You want to go down this list?
Or we could go semi-chronologically. Go through our...
My list is not chronological, so it's going to be tough. How about your list?
My list is not in any way chronological.
So let us just go down lists and pick stuff.
All right, let's start right away with the main events. Because, we get to PAX... Well, no, let's go even further out, because we got to do the meta about other cons. So, you get to PAX, and there's no line, because they mail out the badges. Seriously. Any convention that's more than a couple thousand people, you've got to mail out these fucking badges.
Yeah, I just picked up my badge for Anime Boston like a couple hours ago, right? There was basically not much of a line. It was like a 10-minute line.
But even then, we had to wait, and it was a little bit of trouble. And obviously, they had like 20 staffers.
And this was the Thursday badge pickup. I don't know what the Friday is going to be like.
But like 20 staffers who have to sit there Thursday night for like 5 hours doing these badges. What if they just didn't do that at all and just mailed them? At PAX, every PAX, we have walked up to zero line, usually even like one staffer who's like, here's Sir's badge. Shall I warm Sir's crack pipe?
Yep. I like a warm crack pipe, let me tell you. And PAX is the only con that provides.
Yep. So everyone already had their badges, and the thing was going to open. We got in an hour early, so we walked around all the stuff, but there wasn't much to do. Basically, all we did was wander around and look at all the stuff and check out the Steel Battalion room we'll talk about later.
Well, yeah, there's basically here's all the rooms that they have at PAX. They got the main events room.
Yep.
They got 3 panel rooms, Naga, Wyvern, and...
Naga, Wyvern, was the Serpent?
It wasn't Serpent. Serpent was at PAX West.
Manticore!
There you go. All right, they got 3 panel rooms of varying sizes.
We were only in the Wyvern Theater, so
the Wyvern Theater was sort of medium size. The Naga was the biggest. I didn't go in the Manticore one.
I thought the Manticore was the biggest.
I don't remember at all.
Journalism.
Anyway, yeah, sure, awesome.
Doesn't matter. Every panel filled up with rare exceptions.
There was the tabletop gaming areas. There were many of them. There was the WotC areas, of course.
Yep. There was like role playing.
There were hallways outside of tabletop had stuff in them. Like WotC had a little thing going on, and there was many board game vendors out there. Selling dice, selling games.
They had the new school console free play and the old school console free play. They had FunSpot provided the old school arcade.
They had a tiny old school arcade that was pretty happening.
While it was pretty awesome, I got to admit, it wasn't even close to as awesome as the one that Katsucon used to have with Videotopia.
That's right. There was the Jam Space provided by MagFest, where you can go and rock some music.
MagFest, by the way, we're going to, just so you guys all know. I'm going to announce it right now. We're going no matter what.
Yep, even if it's as attendees and we don't do anything,
yeah,
and they hate us.
See, we realized, we met the people who run MagFest. They were like, hey, you guys got to come. Our con's awesome. Well, no, they approached us. They're like, would you guys be interested in coming? It's not that big. And we're like, MagFest? Hells yeah.
I had heard of the MagFest.
But I did not know. You realize the official yell of MagFest is the Colossus yell from the X-Men arcade game.
Oh! Yeah.
Man, if you're the Blob...
Nothing moves you.
Don't go anywhere near MagFest.
Yeah.
The expo hall, which wasn't, we peeked, we could look in, but they didn't let us in early.
Yeah, we did walk around the expo hall. It was not really it had the same sort of level of, big time companies, but didn't have the quantity that the PAX West expo hall had.
PAX West had the turtle van.
Yeah, I walked through the PAX East expo hall basically once. looked at a bunch of stuff, and that was it.
And no, there was no line to get in. We just walked right in. The whole con, you could just walk right in, walk around.
Yeah.
I think part of it was there weren't that many crazy new games being... I mean, what? There was StarCraft 2, but everyone who cares about it, like really cares about it...
There was a tournament of it.
Yes. But everyone who already cares about it already has a pirated copy
or
of it.
Or the beta or something.
Yeah, and they're playing like their hacked beta. Like, they've got their fix.
The big thing in the Expo Hall, number one above everything else, is Civ 5.
Civ 5
Civ 5.
See, Civ 3 was a revolution. Like, they changed everything. They made, like, they added culture. Like, it was a brand new game. Civ 4 was Civ 3 perfected, in my opinion. Like, they took everything that was good in Civ 3.
Civ 5 is a brand new game again.
Yeah, so this is... Thing is, I jumped on the Civ 4 bandwagon.
I was sort of meh on Civ 5. I was like, all right, another Civ. I knew some of the changes.
But then you saw the same thing I saw. That poster of George Washington, like...
He's like... And I'm like, yes, George, I will play Civ 5. Take my money, here you go.
Well, the thing is, I'm walking around.
For the revolution.
I saw that poster, and I was like, oh, shit. There's another one for Bismarck with his pointy hat just looking at me like, I will disapprove. You do not play Civ 5. But then I saw this other poster of this hex board. I'm like, oh, is this like a Settlers game or something? Then I realized that's Civ 5.
Civ 5.
Hexes.
Civ 5 is the win. Actually, you could have... The reason there was a big line was not to play Civ 5. It was to sign up to go see the Civ 5 demo, which was sort of private.
Our poor friend Scott Johnson.
Scott Johnson got to go see the Civ 5.
However, he got shafted out of it like twice before he got it. Like every
He did eventually get it, though, and he told us about a whole bunch of awesome shit in Civ 5. We'll have to maybe interview... I don't know.
Thing is, what am I... You know, we could do like a preview of Civ 5, but here's the deal. This is like NS2. I'm buying it pre-order sight unseen.
Yep.
I'm putting all my eggs in that basket.
I might even buy the retail if it comes with a big book.
You know, some games, you know, like when Smash Brothers Melee came out, you're like, you know what? I'm going to be all in from the start. I'm going to buy this game the day. I'm going to play it that entire day.
Yep.
I'm not taking a day off of work for Civ 5 because it's going to be a single player. It's going to be a single player experience for a while before we multiplayer it.
You want to talk about the other Expo Hall stuff?
Yeah, there was some cool stuff in there actually, like Monday Night Combat.
Well, the thing is, Monday Night Combat, it looks like a Team Fortress kind of game, right? But it's third-person Xbox kind of situation.
Well,
you pick a class.
It looks, and like the play looks and feels, just from watching other people play it, exactly like all those awesome old like Quake 2 mods felt.
Yep, the only thing with it...
It is not an FPS, it is a sport.
The only thing with it is it has one of those, you know, upgrading things. But the thing is, right, the upgrades... They sort of validate them. Like, the way it works is if you're good at playing Monday Night Combat, which is a sport, right? A sport, you get people, you know, virtual people to sponsor you. Like, Tiger Woods is sponsored by Nike, and they, being your sponsors, you know, and, you know, you endorsing their products, they give you their better products. You get better endorsements as you get better. So they actually have a metaphor for the upgrades that makes sense, that doesn't make them feel like cheating. I mean, is Tiger Woods cheating when he gets better golf clubs from Nike? No. So am I cheating if I get +3 guns from Gunsoft in Monday Night Combat? It doesn't, you know, it doesn't feel like it's unfair.
Well, part of it, it'll depend on how
because they explained it somehow.
It'll depend a lot on how the game actually is. I mean, we watched it, and the gameplay looked right up our alley. It looked twitchy. It looked like control mattered. It looked like there was some asymmetry, like the classes and everything. It had all the look of like a Weapons Factory style game that I would like.
I didn't actually play it though, so we're gonna see when it comes out. I'm gonna try out some demo if they have one, and then I'll buy it maybe.
I think it's a game that could foster a good community, like a community of players, like, could really get into it. If they start, like, if they made like videos of games and highlights, like, what if they made a show for this game that was like the highlights this week from all the servers?
That'd be cool.
They could really do something with this. All Points Bulletin. I heard tell that this might be a subscription model game, in which case I'm almost done with it. Like, I might just give up.
Well, there was a very old game called All Points Bulletin. I actually played it at FunSpot.
Yeah,
right?
I used to play that game at Tilt when I was a kid. Like,
it's basically a driving game where you pull up behind criminals and you're a cop and you pull them over.
Like, you're driving, guy litters, you pull him over. Well, no, really, you know what that game was? You crash into every wall because it's really hard, and then you lose and put another quarter in.
And when you crash, you get demerits, and too many demerits, you get fired.
And that cop with the big fat gut and the cigar yells at you?
Yeah. So there's a new game, and it's basically, it looks like Grand Theft Auto, right? Except it's versus. So some people are enforcers and some people are criminals, and the criminals are trying to crime, and the enforcer people are trying to enforce.
To uncrime, anti-crime.
Yeah.
Take a bite out of
so
crime.
So it's like a versus multiplayer Grand Theft Auto, and that is cool, but if it's a subscription game, screw that.
It depends. What if it was what we always wanted? Like a large, persistent, actually massive, actually multiplayer.
It's not. It's like a
parallel
4-on-4 instanced kind of game.
Yeah.
That's what it looked, so.
But we got to see. I mean, literally, all we saw of it was we watched people play it from behind the line.
Yep.
Yeah, those people all sucked at it. Like,
Yeah.
I watched one guy, like, he gets in a car and he's, like, chasing after a criminal, and he literally gets in the car, drives about 2 feet, and then just, like, swerves right into a pole.
We played, what was the game called, Afrobot or something like that?
It was basically Robotron.
It was basically Robotron. We played the multiplayer, which is versus Robotron,
It was a beta. Like, it was on, like, the Nintendo dev kit.
It was on the Wii on a Nintendo dev kit, right? It was okay.
We spent more time looking at the dev kit, like, oh, we've never seen one in person. Check this out.
Yeah, but the single player is Robotron Zelda. Like, you walk from room to room getting items that let you go to new areas and you get, open up secrets. But, just imagine if Zelda 1, instead of stabbing a sword, you use 2 sticks, one to move and one to shoot, just like Robotron style.
Yeah.
That's what this game is, and that's pretty freaking cool. I'm excited for that single player.
And while I would prefer the kind of, 2 sticks, they actually did pretty well with the idea that you move with, the stick, but then you use the Wiimote to kind of, like, turn, and it works.
Yeah, it does. The control worked just fine. It was
The
perfect.
Versus was fun. It was broken because, it was like this demo, obviously. And Alex was, like, in the upper corner, and I just kept shooting bouncy balls at the corner, and he just couldn't leave. I blew myself up like 5 times.
If Atari Combat had better controls than it does on the
But Atari Combat is like one of the best fucking games ever.
It does, but if it had perfect controls, you could just lock someone into a corner and keep nailing him and nailing him and nailing him, and it'd be over.
No, because you make the maps different, you put constraints in.
The map we played on was not complex enough to offer an interesting sort of game.
But what this proves is that more and more what I like are these games that are very direct, distilled combat between people. Well, combat!
Yeah.
Oh, so what was the name of that Yakuza game we were looking at?
Yakuza?
Because I'd heard about this game, but I didn't really think about it.
Yeah, I knew there was a game called Yakuza. I knew it was popular. I knew people liked it, but I never played it. And they had it at the Sega booth, and I played it. I didn't realize that it was, at least the newest version is a full Yakuza simulator, 100%. Every aspect of Yakuza life, from drinking alcohol to playing pool to driving cool cars to everything Yakuza does is fully simulated. When you play pool, it might as well be a full-on billiards game. Like, 100%. You could take that out of the game and sell it on its own as a billiards game that is better than most.
I mean, I think the moment where I realized I was wrong about this game is when Scott, he plays and he walks into, he's wearing his Hawaiian shirt, like you do, Yakuza, and he walks into a fancy bar. And he goes up to the bartender. The bartender's like, he says some things, and they sit down. And then it gives you this menu of, like, 100 different kinds of beer and sake and wine. So we go down. Scott buys, like, the cheapest sake. And then it gives you, like, this multi-paragraph explanation of, like, well, this is this kind of sake. These kinds of people drink it. It tastes like this. And then a little bit about the history of, like, Yakuza drinking sake.
And then after I drank it, I got some experience points.
You're leveling up your Yakuza ways. I kind of want to be a Yakuza now.
Yeah, that was a good game.
Or at the very least, I want to go to Japan, wear like a Hawaiian shirt, maybe have like a big fake tattoo, and just walk around like the Gaijin Yakuza and scare everybody.
The only other thing I remember from the Expo Hall, because I didn't spend too much time in there, was that NVIDIA actually had live demos of its 3D stuff.
Yeah, which, I mean, I could do with my video
card. It's the
card.
shuttered glasses that are wired into the thing, and then the screen.
They were wireless.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, it was just polarized. That wasn't...
I thought it was the shuttered ones with the battery.
But they weren't wired in anything. That was the don't steal me wire.
Oh, okay.
And it's 3D. It's just, I don't know, it's not worth the money yet.
Yeah, the 3D goes deep in, but it doesn't pop out. But that was apparently a decision of the game developer, not a decision of, you could make a game where the 3D comes out of the screen, but people seem to only do it where it goes deep into the screen.
I can see why, because pop out is really disconcerting. If pop out and then you change your angle and then it like goes off the edge of the screen and disappears.
Yeah.
And it looked great. It's just... my opinion as a gamer is that if you just wait like a year, it'll be ubiquitous. Just wait until you buy a new computer and the video card has the 2 DVI outs for 3D and just comes with the glasses. Yeah, that day will come.
I'm going to wait until it's like a standard, it's set in stone, not while it's still some flaky thing. ATI had their a demo of the whatever they call it, where you can get a shit ton of monitors on one video card.
Yep.
They had 4 HDMI outs coming out of one card. It was pretty ridiculous.
Now, doing it in like the wall mode, like 6 monitors, was kind of annoying because you have the bars. But when they play the racing games, which is screen.
I think it was 8, and they had an SLI. Well, I don't know if ATI calls it SLI, but they had a 2-card setup with 8 DisplayPort cables going to 8 ultra sharps and a 2x4. Right, that was pretty impressive.
But the racing was...
Who is really gonna get, right? I mean, buying one video card that has 4 DisplayPort outs, that's pretty good, because you can get 2 Ultra Sharps and hook them up freaking sweet.
Yep.
Right?
Plus
Getting
with 3D.
2 video cards with 8, nobody has 8 Ultra Sharps. It is not gonna happen.
However, you know who's going to use that? A lot of companies who demo their games are going to do that. People like in exhibit halls, maybe conventions. I think that's the market for
it's
that.
not useful for normal people unless you're crazy.
However,
they did have a demo though of a 3-screen setup. You know, you could do like a racing game with the side
if you're
screen.
really into racing games, or when FPSs support that better, I'd have to see like how like older FPSs would handle that. Because if I had the 3 for the peripheral vision, I was always big back in the Quake days of playing with like the 120 FOV and the fisheye just so I could see around my back.
That's pretty much the expo hall.
Oh, there's the WarioWare DIY, which there's a huge line for it. People seem to really like it.
Yeah, Nintendo had a tiny booth with WarioWare and Pokemon Gold and Silver, which were ubiquitous at the con anyway. So whatever, we didn't even bother to wait. We just said, oh look, WarioWare, okay. We'll see it one day.
So, what do you do with these cons to mail all the badges? I mean...
You just go get the badge, if you don't have it already, because they don't mail out the panelist badges. They only mail out the attendee badges.
Yep, so we had to go pick up our badges. And as a result, we didn't get a Charlie card. I had to spend, money to get a Charlie ticket that cost more than a Charlie card.
Whatever. But anyway, we did manage to get, the lanyards, which are in the bags of goodies, which are they're just sitting there in these big bins in the queue room, and you just take them. You can take more than one. They don't give a shit.
Now, you might not think about it, especially, a lot of PAX people don't go to, anime cons, but fan cons, especially anime cons, it used to be, the goodie bag would have crazy goodies in it, like DVDs of stuff.
The PAX West goodie bag actually had crazy stuff. I mean, it was sort of crazy, that first of all, there's the little DS game with the pins. They didn't have that. That was disappointing.
Yeah, that was actually sorely lacking. The distributed tournament system.
Yeah. The DTS. They didn't have... I remember at PAX West, they had a full case of, it was Lord of the Rings Online, the game, and it was a full game, but of course it was a game with a subscription. No one was giving you a full game really for free.
Maybe we should find out. We should put something awesome in those bags, pay to do it.
Yeah, why not? So here's what comes in the bag, right? So you get the program with the awesome art on it, of course, right? The program is, it's all right. It has all the information you need about tournaments and schedules and a map.
It's got the same aesthetic as the PAX West one. It's basically the PAX West one.
It's got a description of every event, and all these things. It's got a lot of notes pages. The only thing with this is that they don't give you... This is the only place you're going to have the schedule that you can carry around. They don't give you a separate pocket schedule. So you have to carry this whole thing around with you and keep, referring to it. If you had a pocket schedule, you could just leave this in your room.
This is one of the few things where we think, usually we say, oh, the anime cons could all learn from PAX. This is one situation where PAX could learn from the anime cons. A one-page pocket schedule would just be great, and it wouldn't cost that much. Just stick it in the bags.
Yep, all right.
Maybe put an ad on it.
So other than that, you get a bunch of flyers. Here's one for, let's see.
Magic the Gathering.
Here's goozex.com, which is a website. Oh, this is that sort of scamish website where you trade games and you get points. And with the points you earn, you can get games. And they get a cut somehow.
Oh, we're basically giving free advertising to everyone who paid for advertising.
I guess so, yeah. Anyway, play on, whatever.
Flame on.
Dolby Axon. Okay, it's probably some audio gaming thing. CGE Classic Gaming Expo 2010.
Oh.
Where is this?
Yeah, maybe we should go.
Vegas.
All right, Newegg was in the room, actually.
Yeah, Newegg was in the house. We actually talked to an Intel guy about some chips and stuff.
We were asking him why the smallest ones, the ones you want on your home media PC, don't have HDMI out. He was like, yeah, I know, it kind of sucks. I think the technology's just not there yet.
Yeah. These people are selling some computers. Here's Splosion Man. That game's all right. And here's the only interesting things that were in the bag, all right? So first of all, right, you got this.
Magic.
Magic, Money the Wasting, Magic the Gathering. And the thing is, most of the time, they give you, some boosters. Maybe they give you a booster.
Which you throw away or give to a kid, because what are you going to do with a booster? This is an entire deck.
This is enough cards to play Magic the Gathering. And not only that, it comes with the rules, how to play.
Oh, I got to read those, because the last time I read them was revised.
Yeah, and look at this. Here is a full 40-card deck, right? It's all green. They give you 15 forests, and then they give you...
Oh, any artifacts or just green?
No, it's just green, right? They give you 15, and they give you a whole bunch of creatures, and then a handful of instants. It's like if you play that Magic game that's on the Xbox, this is the same kind of deck that you're going to find in that game. A real simple, straightforward deck.
What was amazing is, walking around the con, before it opened, just out in... everyone was playing Magic. Like, people had Magic out and they were playing these decks. And a lot of people...
these weren't people who brought Magic cards with them. These were people who just busted these decks out and played this Magic that they got.
Multiple groups that I ran into were like 2 guys like us who had played Magic in the past, teaching someone who had never played it how it worked with these decks.
And the thing is, I got the green one, right, which is random. If I could have chosen, I would have chosen green. But I just picked an NVIDIA bag, and this is the one that was in there. And I could have gone through back to the bag bin and looted and gotten one of every different color. I think there were 5 different decks that were available. I think you got a different color?
I didn't even look.
You didn't even look?
I don't know. I think Emily took my bag home. I don't know.
Oh, whatever. But yeah, a full playable deck of Magic cards. That was a good call by them. Not that I support the playing of Magic. The final thing that was in the bag was this very important card, which I have kept.
Is that the Omegathon card?
The Omegathon card. Big change at PAX East from PAX West. I can see why they changed it, is that they used to, when you pre-reg for PAX West, there'd be a box that you would check and say, yes, I want to be an Omeganaut. The problem with this was that, they would call people up and say, you want to be an Omeganaut? You check the box, and they would say, oh, no. They couldn't get people to confirm. It was a lot of work calling people on the phone, such and such and such.
Granted, I still can't understand that. I mean, if Mike and Jerry called me and like, hey, you're an Omeganaut, I would have just been like, woo!
People, people had to prepare to be an Omeganaut. They would train, right? And it was very inaccessible, very difficult. And people might not show up to the convention, unreliable. It's a big pain in the ass. So this way, anyone who is applying to be an Omeganaut does so at the con. They're there.
But even then, so they passed them out. You toss these in as you walked into the
That
keynote.
was a problem, is that you toss them in the bag as you go to the keynote. So the entrance to the keynote was slowed down by people tossing cards in the bag.
It was great. We get there. Basically, we got in early, so we wander around. And then we hear this noise. And we're standing like in the front of where the main events are going to be, and we see the line being led in by all these enforcers walking backwards, like holding them barely at bay.
Yep.
And then we see this one enforcer with this little basket to catch the Omegathon cards, and he looks around like, oh shit. Robert Koo actually came over with a big bin. He's like, all right, I got this.
Yeah. But, the point is that this was a better system in all ways, except for the fact that they had to slow down that entrance.
No, but here's the amazing part. So people took these, filled them out, and put them in as they walked in. And then...
What about people who didn't go to the key,
Well, you gotta want it. I mean, it's the Omegathon.
Yeah.
You gotta want it. They can't just make it really easy. You gotta want it in some way. I mean, if the pigeon's not just jumping into your hand.
I think it would have been better to do it the same way that, like, baseball stadiums have the all-star voting. They should just had bins about that were Omegathon application
No, because look,
bins.
here's the point I was getting to. Even with, you turn them in as you walk into the event where they will announce them. They had like 6 people who were called up, not be there. Remember? They recalled. They called up the alts.
Yep.
I don't know what was up with that.
I don't know what's up with that either. It doesn't matter.
Maybe people chickened out.
They got the people they needed. The Omegathon happened.
I like the fact that it was all co-op all the way through. I think that was a really... It gave the Omegathon at PAX East a totally different style.
Yeah, the thing was, I felt it was, while it was a different style and the co-op was awesome, it was less epic.
It was understated.
They did one Omegathon round on its own as an event. Omegathon round 2 was before the concerts on Friday. Round 3 was before the concerts on Saturday.
Yep.
And the final round was the closing ceremony.
Now, it was good that they
there
put
was one less round. There's usually 5 rounds.
But it was good that they put them before these big events. Like, you go to the concert... And you see the Omegathon. They didn't take up panel room space. They weren't like out and about.
But it was also less epic. It wasn't like this thing that was going on that you would follow. They didn't have the big board with all the people's faces and they would cross them out,
I think, my guess, I didn't actually ask Khalil, because notice how they didn't say anything about the Omegathon for a long time. And then suddenly they busted out. My guess is they were planning on not doing an Omegathon the first year and just, making sure the con happened. And then when they realized that it was going to easily be bigger than PAX West, like it is going to be, as Tycho said, the real PAX.
Yeah.
They were like, shit, we got to have an Omegathon.
Yep, so they did it.
Either that or now that we know what the final round was, because while the other 3 rounds were kind of meh, the final round was, I would say, the most epic final round they've ever had. Like, that was crazy shit.
I don't know. I think that the versus Excite Bike was the most epic round that I've seen. I'm sure, plus there were rounds we haven't seen.
Well, final round. I mean, the ones before that, I don't know. The Excite Bike one definitely was awesome, and I see a lot of people talking about it. I guess only time will tell. Maybe they were equally epic in different ways.
Maybe. All right, so
the keynote. We all file in. It's standing room only. Originally, they weren't letting people go out to pee. And I got to tell you, I really had to pee. I actually walked out in the middle of Will's keynote.
Assuming you wouldn't be able to get back in.
Yes, but then as I walked out, there was an enforcer. I was like, dude, I'm a special guest. I got to pee. And he's like, I'll let you back in. And he totally let me back in, and I got back. But Will Wheaton, Will Wheaton, to pronounce it correctly, gave the keynote. He's given a PAX keynote before. I'm curious specifically, like on the inside, why they picked Will. Because at least from the way he told it, they kind of threw this at him. He was like, I don't know if I want to do it. Okay, I'll do it. So I wonder if it was because maybe they couldn't get anyone in time. Maybe, I don't know what the planning process was actually for PAX East, but he gave a good keynote in the end, though.
It was okay. It wasn't epic, though. It wasn't like, oh, man, that was the greatest. It was an okay keynote.
I'll admit, it was kind of a letdown from the last two PAX keynotes we saw. Because those were just, one, they had slides. They were much more kind of professionally delivered. There was much less Woo game going on.
Woo game.
Will, I love you, all right? But you played the Woo game. The game that we've done everything in our power to crush since we started doing panels. That whole part of your speech was basically Final Fantasy, and the crowd goes, woo! You were just tricking the crowd into saying woo. You were taking social currency and throwing it at them, and then getting that to reflect back on you. And I used to do that at panels. I don't anymore. I know better.
Yes, do not play the Woo game. It was very disappointing to see the Woo game played at the keynote of all places.
Yeah.
I can understand a small lowbrow panel playing the Woo game.
Well, I guess it's just the last two keynotes at PAX West, I was deeply inspired by them because they were all kind of the same story of a narrative of why gaming is important. Not just why it's important to us as gamers, that's a big part of it, but really gaming is important in ways beyond everything in this room. And they were really inspiring. I remember being moved almost to tears 2 years in a row, just feeling this is it. And that feeling faded after I remembered, oh yeah, I'm here to play some games. But but definitely you felt that that catch in the heart of gaming matters, and we're on the cusp of gaming becoming, the next great media after writing.
Yep. And Will Wheaton tried to say gaming matters.
And he did.
But...
He did. He said that. He said it really well. But then he kind of kept going with the Woo game for a while. And then he did that whole, spoil some games for people bit. And I feel like his keynote should have either been shorter and just done the inspiring part, or he should have had more inspiring things to say.
Yeah.
It was a good keynote, don't get us wrong. It was good, it was solid, people really liked it. It just, I'm comparing it to the two keynotes prior that I think were better.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see what else was going on. Oh, immediately following the keynote, right, I attempted my vision.
So, we had a vision, right? And the vision was, Gabe and Tycho, they come out every year and they play that song. How's the song
Every
now?
day I'm hustling.
Every day I'm hustling.
Right.
Hustling.
So they
play
my
it.
vision was to have the entire keynote and main events singing the song before the song played, and then singing with the song, and then they would come out and it'd be epic.
And we learned how to do this. We've tried this sort of thing a long time ago when we were young and stupid at Otakon, and it failed miserably. But then, years of experience and that College Humor video of a lone dancing nut job causes a movement, of how to make a movement in a crowd. So we just took that exact method and we planned it, and we had people all around who were waiting for the cue, and Scott was going to start
So
it.
I was worried, right? I was worried because I was, during the time in between the end of the keynote and the beginning of the Q&A, they might have, right, played some music or something, and I would have to overpower this music with the vision.
Or it might have been a long wait. What if they had technical difficulties, like PAX is known for, and, you start it, and then there's a half hour.
It's not going to be able to keep it going for a half hour.
Or it'll become the most epic thing ever, like Bohemian Rhapsody. But we'll talk about that later.
The thing is, the worst case scenario happened. Immediately as the keynote applause ended, they started playing the song.
Hustling.
So,
I'm hustling.
What was I supposed to do? The vision was a failure.
I'm sad, but I'm also glad. I'm sad because the vision failed. It's always sad when a vision dies. But I'm glad because there was zero technical failure. It was the perfect, most professional transition from keynote Q&A.
Yep.
Now, the Q&A at PAX is special, and we were trying, a bunch of our friends weren't going to go. They're like, I don't want to see some Q&A. People always ask
There's no
bullshit
reason
questions.
to go to the second Q&A, but you got to go to the first one.
I don't know. If I missed the first one, I would go to the second one.
That's true. Yeah, that would be true if they scheduled a panel during the first one.
Plus, funny things happen at the second one. It's a good deal. It's more, what do you care about at the con? But we had to, remind everyone that the Q&A at PAX is not just fanboys asking stupid questions. It's people usually asking good questions. Like, I'd say there's a 60 to 70% hit rate of good questions versus fanboy questions.
It's not just questions either. People get up and do stuff or will announce things,
Like at the last PAX Prime, those guys brought a cardboard cutout of their friend who couldn't come, and they're like, can we get a picture?
Yeah, the dude in front of me in line called his friend who couldn't make it on the phone, and everyone
yelled.
So it was someone's birthday, and we all said, "Happy birthday, asshole!"
At the second Q&A, like someone, or it was one of the other events, someone was like, "Will you play Thunderstone with me? This game is up you guys' alley." And then they, from the Q&A, they organized so the people on stage and this guy and someone else in the audience at another microphone about to ask a question all scheduled a game of Thunderstone. Then they all met and they played it.
Yep.
It's kind of it's like this give and take. Like the knuckle crack happens.
Yeah, the knuckle crack, very important tradition.
No one rickrolled the audience.
No one rickrolled.
I'm surprised.
Yeah. No, but I
Scott pulled off some epic.
It wasn't that epic.
It was epic. Look at
how epic was it?
It was epic in the sense that we got it up online, and the
I
first
planned it well in advance. It wasn't like some improvisational genius.
The thing is, we planned it so far ahead, but this sort of thing. There's such a fine line between that is awesome and you're a douchebag. Like the line is so narrow.
So basically, we're doing this Action Castle panel, and I said, you know what, right? I told Jared, the creator of Action Castle, look, you should go to the Q&A.
I believe you mean Action Castle.
I told him, look, you can go to the Q&A, go up, and as your question, just stand up and say, welcome to Action Castle, and start playing it. And then after a few minutes or whatever, after your time is up, basically, because you don't want to stand there forever, just say, this concludes the trial version of Action Castle. To play the full version, come to the Wyvern Theater on Sunday at 10:30.
So Scott tried to convince him like 4 times to do this. And at PAX, the last moment, he's like, will you do it? And Jared's like, basically, Jared said, Scott, I am in fact a wuss. I am not going to do this. I'm going to be a total wuss and fail.
So I said, do you want me to do it? And he was like, it would be awesome if you did it. So I did it.
So, we're sitting there, and Scott lines up, and he goes, you can see the YouTube video, but the crowd went fucking nuts.
People seem to really like it far more than I expected.
Well, Tycho, it's funny, because Tycho got it.
I knew he would get it, and I knew that Mike wouldn't get it at all.
The thing is, Mike, I think he got it. At least enough. He was more playing to the crowd. I mean, his whole, what the fuck do you want from me? That was good for the vibe of the whole thing.
I guess.
But it went on the perfect amount of time. Like, the crowd was losing it. When he's like, what the fuck do you want from me? They're like, I don't know how to, what the fuck? The crowd just, like, the microphone on my camera was, like, busted by how loud everybody was. And just at the moment when it was about to go on too long, when it was going to move from awesome to douchebag, Mike is like, what can you say to end this? And then
he's like, say whatever will make him stop.
And then,
so he's like, quit.
And then it was so epic. I was so happy about that. And it was on joystick, so.
Yeah, very
and
good.
Action Castle, and people lined up.
Yep. So, I guess that about wraps up that morning, right?
Yeah. All right, let's leave it recording. Let's do another thing.
Let's do the tabletop area.
Yeah.
Go through all the games we were playing.
All right. So, as we were wont to do at PAXs, we spend a lot of time in tabletop, because it's quiet.
We can play some games that we like to play with
sit
people.
Down.
Yep, it's a hot place to be.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts of PAX, other than the concerts, the Q&A, and the keynote.
So we played a bunch of games. So we go over there, and I checked out this game, Bacchus Banquet. But I didn't get to play it because I ended up teaching some awesome listeners. The listener rising through the ranks, Chase Gordon, and his friends how to play.
Chase Gordon, you're like one of my favorite fans at this point.
Yeah. So I taught him and his friends how to play it, and then I got roped into actually playing it. So Rim played Bacchus Banquet.
Yep.
Tell us about Bacchus Banquet.
So Bacchus Banquet, see, way back...
We picked it up based on the theme alone.
We bought another game that the cover is basically Bohemabot. Not Bohemabot, that's the movie that Emily's friend
Hedonism
made.
Bot.
Hedonism Bot. And the theme of that game is you're all Roman nobles trying to get all your shit together, get the fuck out of Rome before the Visigoth comes and kills you.
And you got to get to Carthage where it's safe.
And the cover is this guy all fat with wine and women going
and grapes.
And in the background, Rome is burning.
Yep.
Like over the ocean. It's so beautiful. So that game was not actually that good. This game is much better. Bacchus Banquet, the glory and gluttony of Rome. So everybody plays as like a character from the Caligula era.
Awesome.
And everyone has a secret role. But one person plays openly as Caligula.
Can I be Caligula's horse?
So let me tell you what. Caligula, the graphic on the card, your identity card, like Octavius or whatever. Caligula's card is one of the funniest goddamn things I've ever seen. Like, you look at this thing and you cannot help but laugh.
All right.
So Caligula plays openly. Everyone else plays secretly. And it's kind of every round, you put 7 cards up. And some of them are like a dish. And some of them are wine. And some of them are poison and stuff like this. And you have a score that is your belt buckle. And if you keep having to widen it the more you eat and drink. If it goes above 10, you die. So poison just fills your belt buckle like 9 points.
Oh, so you gotta have 0 and you can handle a poison.
Yeah, and some things can make it go down, like having sex. Or taking a nap. And it's this dinner party. So every round, one player, whoever's the active player, picks 3 cards openly from the table. So maybe a poison, and the dishes too. Like, you have goals, like, one player will win if he eats just 8 dishes. That's all he wants. One card wants like 3 points of wine and 4 dishes. Caligula has these different, everyone wants different stuff. But some of the dishes are like a lobster. Belt 1, and it counts as 1 dish. One of the dishes is an entire deer, and it's just a plate with this deer like laying on it, and it's 5 points.
So it widens your belt buckle by half the way.
But it only counts as 1 dish.
But half kills you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's a bad one to get.
Depending. So you pick the 3, and then you shuffle them up. You put 1 face down on your sheet. You're saying, I will eat this one on my turn. Then you take 1, you say, I'm discarding this one. You take 1 and offer it to another player as a gift. They can choose to either eat it right then, flip it over and see what it is.
So they have a 1 in 3 chance of knowing what it is, basically. They know it's one of those 3.
Yes. So they can either flip it over and apply it to themselves immediately, or gift it to someone else who hasn't had it yet. If everyone re-gifts, whoever was the active player has to eat it. But
so you don't want to
become. There's only one way to become the active player, and that is to accept a gift and not die. And the only other part of the game, really, is that everyone has a special ability, like a card you draw randomly. You can use it once in the entire game. You just flip it over and use it. And there are things like, take the card that the active player was going to keep and use it on yourself. Or take a card that was gifted to you and force whoever gifted it to you to eat it right there. If you die, you just throw away your card, you died, you draw another player card and keep going.
Oh.
Whoever makes their goal
first. So you
first,
can still win. Like, if you get close to your goal, people are going to attack you, you're going to die, you're going to get set back to 0, but everyone might get set back to 0. So being close to winning isn't necessarily close to winning if you can get killed.
And everyone is secret, except Caligula plays openly. So you can try to, con people into...
So what if Caligula dies?
So here's the deal. There are 2 women, those roles, and all they want is a bunch of gifts. There's like 3 old men and 2 other women, and they just want to eat and drink in different quantities of food and wine. Caligula wants to eat some and drink a whole bunch, or if any 3 people die, he wins.
Oh.
Then there are the 3 conspirators. If Caligula dies, or if there are 3 daggers, which is one of the gifts, in play at the same time, they all win. So they're trying to get the daggers in play or feed Caligula.
Man, that would have helped Rome a lot. No Caligula? Okay.
Yeah, but it's basically Citadels. It is not a good game from game theory. Our Beyond Candyland panel. It is just...
But would you play it instead of Citadels, or would you pick Citadels?
They're both important because they're a party game. They're really fun. They're the who poisoned the cup game. And if you get into it in role play, and it's Citadels without the building part of the game. It's just the poison in the cup, second guessing your friend's game.
So would you pick, if you're sitting there in Citadels and Bacchus Banquet, which one would you pick?
I would play Bacchus Banquet because the building part is not super fun in Citadels.
All right.
However, Citadels, can have 6 or 7 people. Bacchus Banquet goes up, I think it's 3 to 5.
So I played Ticket to Ride, like I said, and I remembered that game pretty much comes down to what routes you draw, and the rest is pretty obvious what to do, and it just comes, and if 2 people have pretty equal routes, it comes down to like luck of drawing more routes, which is sort of mitigated by the fact that you draw 3 and you only have to keep 1 at most, at least, but you can keep all 3. And, the colors of the cards, you might get lucky, like, oh, you need a yellow route so bad, it could just be yellow, 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 yellow. Maybe it happens.
Yep. It's still fun, though.
Yeah, it's still a fun game, but it's not a great quality, skilled game.
We saw some other listeners right next to us during all this learning how to play and then playing Agricola.
That's good.
I gotta play some more Agricola. I really like that game.
Yeah, definitely. We want to get the expansion.
So we played Stone Age versus Future Tech.
Yeah,
Fuck
it was,
that game.
Well, it's called Time Streams, right?
Whatever, that
So
game-
this is a versus non-collectible card game that was supposed to play like a collectible card game.
So-
from the look of it, anyway.
Scott pulls this out, and he's reading the rules. I'm flipping through the cards.
And I've got the future tech, and he has the caveman tech. And I'm like, all right, well, how the hell do we play this game? The rules are written so poorly.
And independently, the game itself is actually a cool concept. You build kind of this board of like days, like you build it out, and there's actions, and then you go through the whole thing again, kind of playing out the actions that
Yeah,
were
so
set.
imagine if you have a bunch of cards, normally a magic card, right, or a Dominion card has text on it,
Yep.
right? Imagine if the cards had two texts, or some of them had one text and some of them had the other texts. So there's the play action, which happens when you add the card to the game, and there's the score action, which happens after you're done with the whole playing of every card, and you just go through scoring everything. They all do something different
So
the
it's
second
kind of,
time
you
through.
build a machine, and then the machine runs.
Yeah, and while you're building the machine, you do funky stuff also.
Now, that mechanic is awesome. I think we should make a game like that. Some sort of like, I want to make
Good fundamental idea. The game itself, terrible. The words on the cards, poorly written. The rules, poorly written. The game,
a lot of repeat cards, too. Like, it was just...
yeah, the game didn't really have a lot of strategy or anything.
The
It
art
just-
was good, though.
The art was nice, but the game, very bad.
Mainly, the theme had nothing to do with the game. The theme was just, it was tacked on to the degree that it was not even there.
Yep. Also,
We didn't even play, we just stopped.
Also in the tabletop area, right? A guy we know from New York, right? Good friends, sort of, I guess. Where he's in the nerd NYC sort of group, right? He has a game called Super Gachapon Fighter, and I told him I would bring some gachapons, which I forgot to do.
Yep.
But basically,
I
this
gotta bring my Hatsune Miku.
if you're a Hero Clicks kind of fan, you're right. Forget that. Just get Super Gachapon Fighter. What this lets you do is you get your little PVC toy figures, right? Your little Transformer guys.
Whoever it is, maybe a
Whatever it
masked
is,
man.
little Street Fighters, little G.I. Joes, maybe, some anime characters, whatever you got. You bring it to the table.
Can of Red Bull is now my leading guy.
Can of Red Bull, sure, go for it, right? You can roll up a character for whatever thing it is. It's a point system, so you don't actually roll. You just make the character to match whatever the PVC is, right? And you play, and it plays sort of like Hero Clicks, and it's actually a pretty good game. Like
It fixes a lot of the crap that HeroClix has kind of wrong with it.
the math of it's still a miniatures combat game. There's still dice and randomness and all that stuff. The dice actually work similarly to Burning Wheel with the successes and the failures and that. But the metaphor of the dice actually matches a fighting game. Like you do flurries and combos, and you have special moves and
like getting in close or being far away.
yeah, you got projectiles, Hadouken, and
He's
you
got the good
offense
mechanic
and
with
defense
movement and projectiles where you like lay out these strips and that shows the distance. So it's like the old war games where
Yeah, it doesn't have to be super precise either, So it's a pretty high quality game.
It's super fun.
I'm gonna buy it and get the whole thing going on. And now there's no reason to throw away all your old toys. And it works. He played with like a big old Unicron. He played with tiny stuff, big stuff. It's all good. It all works.
So, Jungle Speed. We didn't put it up yet, but we had that live streaming thing we tried to do where we played some Jungle Speed. And if any of you watched that, you might recall that we thought we were so smart. We're like, this game's broken. Scott took his turn. It's a game where you flip up cards. So with your same, so I flip a
have to
card.
flip it like this.
Scott flips a card. Like flip, 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 flip. And if the cards match in certain ways, then whoever grabs the Jungle Speed totem first, like wins that round, and the other player gets punished, has to pick up all the cards. If you run out of cards, you win. So I'm like, all right, this game's just broken. Scott, take your turn. I just put my fingers around the totem. I'm like, go for it.
Yep.
So Scott, flips his card. I go, up. Or I go, all right, let's go, continue.
Yeah. So we go to this guy. He's demoing Jungle Speed. So I'm like, all right, we got to ask this guy if this game is broken or not.
Now, right away, he's like European. Clearly, he's smarter than us.
Whenever I do this, I expect that I'm going to prove to this person that their game is broken. But I hope that they will prove to me that I'm wrong and the game is awesome. This is a case of them proving to me that the game is actually awesome.
Yep, the guy doesn't even, Scott's like, so here's what, and the guy's like, all right, just show me what you do. Show me what you do.
So I'm like, okay, I flip a card, and when it's your turn, I'm going to put my hand around the totem like this.
And the guy just says, just like that?
Yeah.
I guess you knocked it over.
And the rule is, if you're the last person to touch the totem and it gets knocked over, then you have to pick up all the cards on the table.
And then I realized the rules don't say don't hit the other player. All it says is the totem. Whoever knocks the totem over loses.
So the guy just whacked my hand and the totem went flying and he's like, take all the cards. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. You have fixed jungle speed.
And then we're like, what if we grabbed at the same time? He's like, most fingers. What if the same number of fingers? Closest to the bottom. What if, we're on top of each other? Inside wins. Like, it's all these obvious... He should make a little errata sheet.
They should. I'm going to write new rules for Jungle Speed that fix the game. So...
we're going to play that game again.
We're going to play some Jungle Speed.
Because I can still do the strategy of the blocking.
Apparently, the way they play is they'll usually hold the deck in one hand, their deck in one hand, and play with the other hand to guarantee that they're only using one hand.
Yep, and the edge of the table.
They'll put their hand, when it's not your turn, they'll put their hands on the edge of the table and then go, ha, for the totem like that.
Man, they're so fake it out. This kind of game, like Spoons back in the day, where I would be like, ha, and not grab it.
Yeah, I'd be like...
I feel like I should make the Colossus noise every time. Ah!
Yep.
Ah!
So the guy fixed Jungle Speed for us.
Yeah, I was so happy about that.
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers what we did in tabletop.
Yeah,
I wish we would. Yeah, Luke Crane ran his Burning Wheel demos. A lot of people played them.
They were pretty much. It was so crowded. At one point, he was trying to get a hold of our friend Alex, who does Burning Wheel demos whenever he can, because he loves doing that. Because so many people wanted Burning Wheel demos, especially after our panel, when basically he was like, yeah, all the books sold out like right away after our panel.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird. The Complete Strategist came. It seems like they didn't stay on Sunday, which is really weird.
They probably sold out of everything that was selling.
Yeah, and it was really, I don't know, but it seemed like they were in what they brought. They brought this giant stack of Ticket to Ride and 0 Dominions. It's like, if maybe they didn't have Dominions, understandable.
Or maybe that was excess stock they just had to get rid of.
Yeah, it's like, dude, if you wanted to make Mad Bank, you should have brought a giant stack of Dominion as tall as your Ticket to Ride stack.
No. Thunderstone is not the greatest game.
It would have sold.
Not enough people have played it yet. If you had Thunderstone out with a demo and you're like, this is Dominion plus dungeon crawling, they would have sold every freaking copy.
Yep, but they sold out of Action Castle. They sold out of Burning Wheel. They had, and they didn't bring that many. They only brought 30 copies or so, something like that. I saw the whole stack.
I feel like I have a terrible power because so many people came up to me later in the con. They're like, I tried to buy every game we talked about. They're like, and I couldn't find it for sale or it was sold out.
Sorry.
Even the games like Dogs in the Vineyard that we didn't even talk about, it's in the panel description.
I was actually, sort of impressed. A lot of people come up to us during the con. They're like, we want you to play X. We want you to come do this with us, And I'm like, I have a hard time saying no. And usually it doesn't happen just because it's hard to meet up with people.
Yep, and to many of you where it didn't happen, like I really wanted
to play, right?
Dogs in the Vineyard with you,
The thing is, at PAX East, everyone who wanted to do something with us, except for the one dude who wanted to play Dogs in the Vineyard, and the other people who wanted us to play their game.
Oh, we didn't go back to the that educational make your game either. Where you make the game and then you play the game.
Oh, right.
We forget, so that's another thing we fucked up.
Yeah. Anyway,
I really wanted to talk to them.
Other than that, right, we did everything that we said we would do. So it was actually, we got a lot done.
Yeah, but I really wanted to play Dogs in the Vineyard. And that guy, he was the kind of guy to run it. He was the kind of guy had his deal.
Yeah.
Just like when Uncle Yo runs the inspectors, he knows exactly what he's doing.
Let's talk about the educational make the game.
All right, yeah, so the concept here, who was it who did it?
It was some guy that we met once in the past. I forget his name. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, but we'll do a show on this like Geeknights, so don't worry. We're going to talk about this a lot. But the concept is that you make a game aimed at younger kids where...
It's a flash game.
The game is... You have a game that is broken. And every game's different. One's a platformer, one's a tile game, whatever. And you fix the game. The game is fixing the game.
Yeah, basically you're playing a game, and while you're playing the game, you have play mode and edit mode. So a level will be broken. You'll have to go to edit mode and fix the broken level, then go to play mode and get to the end of the level.
Now, that's a concept that you could take in a lot of directions. But they're taking it in this, educational kid direction.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. So I highly recommend it. If I could remember the name of it, I would tell it to you.
We'll do a whole show about it.
We'll put a link up and all that.
So we did 3 panels at PAX East. The exact same 3 we did at PAX West.
It was surprising. We did Beyond D&D first, and I actually felt like it wasn't our best Beyond D&D.
I was really wrecked, and we forgot some stuff. We backpedaled. We didn't do our usual disclaimer about how much we actually love D&D until halfway through.
Yeah, it wasn't. While I was up there, I was like, this is not our best Beyond D&D. But you know what? People loved it just the same.
Oh,
Luke Crane told me afterwards, I was hilarious. I was like, what are you talking about?
The whole time, the entire convention, people kept coming up to me and be like, so Beyond Dungeons & Dragons, they had a question, they had a comment. Everyone said it was great. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I feel
People
good.
liked even a crappy rendition of it's like if you have a song, it's a good song, it's a song people like, it's a hit, but you did a poor singing job, you got some notes wrong, and
Yep.
I guess people still thought it was great.
I think part of it is that, one, even if we do a bad job, even if we did a terrible job, the content matters. There's a reason we've been doing this panel. What? This is our third PAX we've done it at.
Yep.
We did it at Anime
We gotta
Boston.
retire this shit.
We did it at Otakon. We might do it at MagFest.
Yeah, we'll see. At MagFest, I would do it again.
Someday I want to record like a definitive version and be done with it.
Right after that, we did Losing Should Be Fun, which I think we did an even worse job
I think
at.
we did a better job. I think it was really
You think
well
so?
done.
Because I was falling asleep,
here's the-
literally falling asleep,
Well, the
and I was
trouble
like,
is, see, Beyond D&D is like both of us panel. Like, we both wrote it straight up. We both perform it with equal parts. Losing Should Be Fun. Like, I wrote and I drive, and Scott provides commentary and insight. And Beyond Candyland, Scott drives, Scott wrote. I just provide insight and commentary. So my driving, I think, in Losing Should Be Fun, because I had some coffee, so I had a second win for that one. So I think I pulled it all the way off. And yeah, you were kind of falling asleep toward the end.
I was literally like, that's so bad. If you're on doing a panel and you're just like,
But at the same time, again, the content is what matters, because everyone's had those experiences. Like Beyond D&D. I mean, look, no one in that room, except for that core of like fanboys who come to all our panels and already know us, even though it's the same panel every time. Everyone else didn't know what we were going to say, and they're all D&D people. And the moment I live for in Beyond D&D is when we say, like, D&D combat takes for fucking ever, blah.
and you see people, whenever I see people nodding,
Yep.
that's when I know it's going well.
And like the moment I said, what if you just abstracted currency and you didn't count because it doesn't matter, you want to skip to the fun part. And there's one guy up in the front who went, and he went to his friend, he's like, what da 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 da. And I think it resonates because there are a lot of people who want these better role-playing experiences. And D&D is good for what it is, but it isn't good at that. So I think that's why the panel is so good, because even if we do it at every PAX forever, most of the people in the room have not seen it and don't know. That's why we got to make a video and get the word out there. I don't want to take up PAX time anymore.
Yep.
I just want everyone to know this stuff.
Yep, losing should be fun. We talked about Dwarf Fortress
Yep.
and such. It was about losing. It was a panel.
Yep.
All right.
I think the plan with that panel is we'll probably run it at some other PAX or something at some point, but I think I'm going to break it up because we basically touched on like single player losing, multiplayer losing, and narrative branching losing. Those could each be a panel. That losing should be fun was kind of the overarching, like, think about the idea that losing should be fun. That your game should always be fun. If there's any point where your game's not fun, game's fucking broken.
Yep. Beyond Candyland, I think we actually did really well.
'Cause it was
the room was
Sunday.
not 100% full. It was like 90% full. You know, we ran the panel really well. The only thing was we were sort of pressed for time. You know, so I sort of rushed the end a little bit. But
Yep.
the rest of the panel was its usual awesome panel.
We'll try to get these up online in whatever forms we can, as much as
Yeah,
possible.
Beyond Candyland was filmed. There's someone up in New Hampshire who's doing a board game documentary.
Someone awesome, by the way.
Yeah, we went and interviewed with them on after PAX was over on Tuesday on our way to Fun Spot. But they recorded and filmed the Beyond Candyland panel, so that's going to be on the internets hopefully-ish soon, and also maybe even in their documentary or who knows what.
Yep, and I'm going to try to get our other stuff online, even the bad running of Beyond D&D, because a bad one is better than nothing.
Yep, people want to see it.
Yep.
And Action Castle, of course, we did Action Castle, and also
Action
Jungle Adventure.
Castle.
And it was the typical awesome. They
Poor
died.
Jared, like, he had a sore throat. Like, he was kind of sick trying to run this
But
thing.
he did it anyway. They had a rough time dealing with the ogre,
Yeah,
the troll. They couldn't get past the troll. They kept dying. It was not a good sight to see.
It was funny because, we did the Action Castle, like, thing in the main events. So, of course, Action Castle sold out. And everyone kept hearing us talk about it. People already knew about it. So, I think a lot of people, like, memorized it or came into this, like, knowing what to expect. So, they won pretty handily.
There were a lot of people cheating. They had pieces of paper and they were writing down.
I don't think that's cheating.
I don't know. But,
I think that's awesome. But Jungle Adventure happened. I know people like came into this thinking they'd be awesome and like know what to do. Like someone came in and they're like, save game, because they knew. But then Jungle Adventure suddenly, oh shit! Like
I
no one knew
never
what to
played
do.
Jungle Adventure before, so I had no clue what to do. Luke Crane actually told me some secrets of Jungle Adventure.
Yeah, I like Jungle Adventure. I like the Fire Ants thing a lot.
Yeah, the fire
was
ants
good.
thing was good. You get the fire ants on you, you're gonna die in 3 turns,
But it was weird, we always thought that PAX is like where it's hard to be a celebrity. Like it's harder to break into. It's real deal. Like the panels are serious business. Everything's real. And anime cons, like we do these million panels, but PAX is where like everyone kept coming up to us throughout the con, like, "Oh man, that panel was great. Oh man, I have a question."
Yeah,
about
at
your
anime
panel."
cons, not a lot of people come. Some people come up to us.
Like that awesome, I forget your name.
And fans come up to us, but it's not constant. At PAX, at East at least, never really at the West. It felt like when I was walking around the hallways, like every minute or two, someone would come up to me. Or if I'd be in a line somewhere, someone would say, "Hey, panels are awesome, sweet."
Or like Jeff,
just constantly.
College Humor guys, we went to your panel, and because we're interested in Dorkly, like we're going to talk
We
about
do
that.
enough College Humor things of the day. We went to the College Humor panel.
Yep.
I mean, come on.
And it's funny because, well, one, I was walking in and Jeff happened to be walking by. He's one of the College Humor guys, the guy with the glasses and the kind of scraggly. But anyway, he's walking up and I'm walking next to him and I'm like, "Hey, you look like you're on your way to the College Humor panel." He's like, "I may be." And I'm like, "I'm on my way too." And he's like, "I hear those guys are handsome." But actually, Emily thought he was just some listener, so she kind of blew him off. So we go in, and after their panel, I go up to talk to him because I want to talk about Dorkly. I think Dorkly's gonna be awesome.
Oh, if you don't know, they're making a new site called Dorkly, and basically, College Humor does a lot of nerdy videos like Tetris God.
One Piece.
There's those Mortal Kombat parodies, Street Fighter later years. They do a lot of gaming stuff, but the thing is, they avoid stuff that's too obscure for normal people to laugh at.
Too inside baseball, but
right. So they're making a new site, Dorkly, where they can do the stuff that would be too inside baseball for College Humor.
What's cool though, their point, and it kind of echoed actually Will Wheaton's keynote. They were like, "Look, we think that if we just had video game references, they're ubiquitous enough where people will get them. But we can't get away with that as much with just the College Humor stuff with the demographic. Let's go all out and see what happens." I look forward to that with gusto.
I look forward to that site. I will be a frequent visitor. I hope it produces many fine things of the day.
But I went up to talk to him because, I didn't know about Dorkly, so I was like, "Yeah, we got to talk about this. Oh my God." And while I was up there talking to them, these people who came up to talk to them after their panel were like, "I think the guy who asked that question was Scott." "Oh, that's Scott? Yeah, the guy from Geeknights did the Action Castle thing." And then some other guy comes up to me and he's like, "Oh my God, Rim, I was at your Beyond D&D panel." And then those guys are like, "Oh my God, is that Rim?" And like this weird clusterfuck. And I had all these people asking me questions in front of them, waiting for people to ask them questions. I felt really bad.
Yeah, it was weird.
So I was like, "I'll be out of here."
I was outside while that was going on.
Yeah. All right. So, back to the present on Tuesday with us in New York and not in Boston.
I think, there's anyway, many Tuesdays, do not be confused. As of right now, of this talking, it is Tuesday, April 6th.
Yes, PAX is long gone. Anime Boston, long gone. But, you know what?
Anime Boston's not long gone. It's shortly gone. PAX is
it's a
long
few days
gone.
ago. It feels like forever ago. But
PAX West is less than 6 months.
I know, and PAX East is less than a year away. Oh, man. I can't wait.
Well, I don't know. We don't have PAX East dates. You never know.
So, I think what we want to do, the thing we didn't get to when we were recording this stuff in Boston, is kind of the crazy moments of PAX. Like all the kind of things that didn't really fit anywhere else, just the stuff that really stood out up to us. And I don't know, kind of in reverse order, I want to start with the elbow bump.
The elbow bump, very important. This carried over to Anime Boston for us as well.
And it worked. It got to the point to where people who approached us came elbow ready because they remembered. And every time someone gave us the handshake, I'd be like, "No elbow." And once they realized what was up, they're like, "Oh crap, yeah, disease, damn it."
Yeah, I mean, PAX, Penny Arcade put up the comic telling you to use the iron guard position, right? Instead of using, the elbow bump.
Now, I wonder how many people realize that the iron guard position is basically the I am invisible and LARPing position.
Sort of. The problem I have with the iron guard position, right, is that there is a psychological thing about, touching somebody, right? Like, they did a whole bunch of studies where it's like, okay, they'll have someone go into a phone booth and leave a wallet behind, and on their way out of the phone booth, they'll touch the person who's waiting to get into the phone booth. And if they do that, then the person will more often, call them and be like, "Hey, your wallet." But if you don't touch the person on your way out of the phone booth, it is less likely that they will say, "Hey, your wallet," right? So
what happens if you pick up the phone booth?
Right, so that you die. But the point, the point of a handshake is, you touch this person, and there is something about that. And the iron guard position, eliminates all touching whatsoever. And the thing is, you don't really need to eliminate all the touching. You can do the elbow bump, which gives you the touching. It has the same psychological impact as, a handshake, maybe not quite as much, but you don't have to get any, your hands on their hands do not contact, and the hands are, the disease transfer positions.
And I think the way forward, because, this elbow bump iron guard thing kind of came out of the fact that there was an unrelated norovirus outbreak at colleges in Boston.
And everyone got swine flu at PAX West.
Yep. So I think what we need to do is every time there's a con, the con should just lie and say there's an outbreak of something like that and remind everyone to elbow bump, and then the kids won't get sick.
You don't even need to do an elbow bump. You should just be like, yeah, cons are, dens of horrible disease. Do not shake hands with anyone.
It amazes me that
everyone just bump elbows.
New York fucking city does not make me sick. Touching grimy subways and then sticking my finger in my eye.
It's because you wash your fucking hands.
Even though I don't that often.
And you know what? What's actually really easy to get in New York City? Pink eye. If you're if you're on the subway and you rub your eyes, pink eye ahoy.
Pink eye is one of the things I fear almost more than death. I hate pink eye so much.
What's to fear? Your eye just goes for a little while.
I hate that. Anything that makes my eyes itch just drives me crazy. I can't deal with it.
It's not so bad. I mean, you can get a lot worse things than pink eye. Like, I don't know, norovirus, where you're basically puking and diarrhea like crazy.
But at least that ends quickly.
What are you talking about?
Couple days?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll take 10 pink eyes over one norovirus.
I don't know. Are they consecutive or concurrent?
Both. 10 times. It'll be 10 squared pink eyes in both eyes at the same time.
Number 9. There's no actual list. I'm just kind of going up from things I jotted in Notepad.
Yeah.
And in case we didn't talk about it, the Omegathon, whatever. The Omegathon finale was the most epic, or at least I think equal to the Excite Bike epicness.
It was a good Omegathon finale, right? It was good. There was no way I could have predicted it, right? But once I saw it, it was obvious. The thing is, right, for the second Omegathon in a row, there were technological difficulties.
Yeah, but at the same time, the fact that there were so few, I expected disaster. When I saw what they were trying to do, all I thought was, there's no way this is going to work.
And, they did do test runs of it. I mean, I don't think we could have done any better. I think the thing is that they mess up, right? Is that they insist on using the actual technology.
They should lie. They should just have the NES there, make everything look like it's in an NES, but behind that NES is a NES controller to USB converter and a freaking emulator.
They have all those Dell PCs, right? You can grab 10 of them and use them. I'm
sure there are concerns about legality, and they're big, and they don't want to work. Just fake it. Just totally fake it. No one would know.
Look, just if you worry about the legality, right? I don't think anyone is going to challenge you, right? On, if you emulate an NES game, and right there you have an NES and the game, and the controller is just sitting there, and may have, if you need 2, you have 2. If you need 10, you have 10, and just use the emulator right in front of it.
But I said,
nobody is going to complain.
If you fake it, you're double protected.
That's true. But anyway, and you can use the actual controllers, the USB connection, and it doesn't need to be authentic. If it ruins the suspense, then, and the awesomeness of the Omegathon with the technological difficulty, don't use the old busted technology.
But luckily, at least with this Omegathon, it got all the way through, and then there was kind of the choke near the end, but before kind of the ultimate round of it. Mm-hmm. So we basically got to experience the Omegathon twice.
Yeah, I thought, on the one hand, I thought that, on the second go-through, after all had been revealed, the suspense would lessen. But after they started playing, the suspense, it came right back into it.
So I have 2 points about the Omegathon finale. One, Team Left got robbed.
Team Left did indeed get robbed.
Because Team Right did not know how to play Mario 1 for shit.
Team Right did not know how to play for crap. The team on the right sucked ass, right? But then, because they got to do a second go-around, because of the technological difficulties,
they knew where the coins were.
Right, the team on the right was able to come back.
The thing is, the team on the left, despite, in the second round, they screwed up. They had a couple of chokes and Tetris and such. But when they got to the Contra round, they were catching up so fast, they almost won it anyway.
Yeah, that's, the team on the left was clearly the superior team. The thing is, it says clearly in the Omegathon rules, they decide who wins. There is no appeals process, whatever.
Which is fine. The only problem I had, I feel bad for him, but one of the guys on that team looked kind of genuinely pissed as opposed to good-naturedly pissed. I felt kind of bad for him, but at the same time, what are you going to do? It's entertainment. I mean...
Yeah.
The other point is that neither one of those teams could play any of those games for shit. And I
don't know, the team on the left was okay at Contra.
They were good. They were pretty good at Contra, but
right?
Mario 1...
They couldn't play Mario 1 or Tetris, and Rad Racer is such an easy game, everyone played it just fine.
Yep. I don't know. That Tetris part really got to me. And the whole audience too.
That was another thing. They want to talk about it has to be the real system, otherwise it doesn't count, right? We have to use the real controllers.
Tengen Tetris,
right? But they gave the two teams different Tetrises. They weren't both playing the same version of Tetris. So if you're worried about a fair competition using actual NESs or whatever, then how could you also not be concerned with using two different Tetris versions? That's BS.
The problem they ran into technically...
That's hypocritical right there. So no excuse not to use the emulators that will work perfectly every time.
With the whole Konami code thing, the problem they had with Contra that made him have to start over, props to Ku for being there to put it in on the spot. Imagine if he had screwed that up and they had to do it a third time.
Yep.
He had it. He did it. But I think it would have been better if they didn't enter the code and they just gave you Contra. And if you didn't know the code...
And you got if you could enter the code, or if you got game over, you could, just keep restarting.
Yeah.
Until you got it.
I mean, imagine that. Imagine if, one team just goes for it and starts to die, and the other team just Konami codes it, and then the audience realizes the Konami code, but then the other team wins anyway because they're just that good at Contra.
I think the only the argument against that, though, is that, in trials, right, because they tried it out, and the time between the winner and the loser was 1 second. So they were like, oh, this is perfect. It's going to be so down to the wire and awesome.
Yep.
But if one team knew the Konami code and the other didn't, it would be a no contest. You'd be like, oh, boring.
But at the same time, see, this is the trouble because you were correct. For the entertainment of the crowd, that was the best option. But does someone who doesn't know the Konami code deserve to win the Omegathon?
Well, does someone who was trying to go down every single pipe in Mario 1 deserve to win the Omegathon? No, but they did. So
the thing is, if he'd been small, we might not have noticed. But the fact that there's that big-ass Mario just ducking on all the clearly non-duckable pipes, that was just sad.
That guy, I think we need to recreate this challenge, minus the Contra part, because that part was uninteresting, and just see how we can do. I think I could beat you in a Mario 150 coin plus Rad Racer plus Tetris.
Doubt that.
Oh, okay.
We'll set it up. We have to have some sort of live Rim and Scott duel.
Anyway,
we'll see. So briefly, I don't want to dwell on these, but our panels went freaking awesome, and everyone in the crowd was badass. I got to say one thing. This actually surprised me. We had a little bit of extra time just because of the way the staggering was in the panels, and we took some questions, something we never really do at PAX. The questions people asked were great. They were good questions.
Yeah, some of them were awesome. Some of them were okay, but there were no questions where I was like, shut up, fanboy. Every question was a quality question, we got of course, you always get the occasional, what about this game? Have you played this specific thing? And it's like, no, I haven't played that specific thing. But, those are not so bad. That's like the average, that's a 3-star out of 5-star question. Have you played this specific thing?
Yep, though I will now take the opportunity to announce that at least as far as PAX is concerned, we are retiring Beyond Dungeons & Dragons. We've done it at 3 PAXs. We're not doing it there again.
Yeah, I think...
as good as it is, seriously, we're going to film it at some point. We'll stick it up. We'll probably end up doing it at MagFest and things, but no more PAX. We got to bring fresh stuff. We might retire Beyond Candyland, and losing should be fun, too.
I don't want to retire Beyond Candyland. I think that has another year left.
We'll see. The working title... Because
people still need to play more German games. We can update it with some different games.
To tantalize, 2 working titles I have for panels I'm slowly working on for future PAXs are... Egregiously Unrealized Potential, which is basically the Nintendo panel.
Right.
And Games Make the Player. Some sort of mechanism design, but don't call it that.
We have to not tread on Luke Crane's Game as Mind Control panel.
I think they can both exist in the same ecosystem. I'm not going to steal his Hobbit example again. It's a good example.
Yeah, but we'll be using our DDR example, which is almost the same thing.
I think one more thing that is worth mentioning that was pretty damn awesome was Scott having the balls to do the Action Castle thing in the first Q&A that Jared...
take balls. It was easy.
But I point out, Jared did not have the testicular fortitude to do it himself.
He just didn't want to, I asked him, I'm like, you sure you don't want to do it? You sure? And he just didn't want to be all self-promotional and whatever.
But at the same time, he was fine with you doing it.
He was fine with me doing it, and apparently a lot of other people thought it was okay. I didn't think it was that great when I was doing it, or what, I thought it was, pretty clever, but people were like, oh man, that was so awesome.
See, I think part of it is that no one expected it, and every year, there are a few people who do something clever at the QA, And no one, think about it, in all these PAXs, no one thought to try to play a game with them right there, a short one.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think the fact that you didn't milk it, that you stopped it at the appropriate time.
Well, I was
works.
planning to, I knew that I had to keep it short, right? So I wanted to, to cut it off at the appropriate time, because if I stood there too long, it'd be very bad. It's a question and answer thing.
But look at the genius of Tycho, that at the perfect moment, he was like, quit.
Well, I don't think it was his genius, right? I think it was, I knew that Mike would not do well, right, in advance, but I didn't know he would do that poorly. And I sort of messed up, right, in that, it wasn't his turn, but he kept thinking it was his turn. And it's like, oh, what am I supposed to do?
See, you should have just you could have kept saying, I don't understand. What the fuck do you want to me? I don't come into your house and do this shit to you.
Well, he didn't say that until after I told him it's not his turn. Jared, I think, it could have been a little bit better, because afterwards I asked Jared what I should have done, and he said you should have said something along the lines of, player one, it is not your turn, as opposed to saying, it's not your turn, you can't say anything if it's not your turn. And like, the other thing is that Jerry just was not helping me out. Like, he thought it wasn't his turn. He was just being all quiet.
Because, I think he thought to say quit, and he was just waiting for the moment.
No, because if you actually look back at it, Mike's like, say whatever will make him stop, and then he says quit. So that's what.
See, the thing is with the showmanship, I wonder how much of that was the unstated nod between the two of them, that interchange would have been a good joke, and then they pulled it off.
There's no way to know with those guys.
I got to admit, those guys are getting pretty damn good at entertaining a crowd.
It is difficult, if nay impossible, to know. So it doesn't really matter either. It's just a silly Action Castle question, whatever. But
yep.
People liked it. It made people excited for Action Castle. Action Castle sold out. It totally worked. So now I just have to think of ways to promote whatever else I'm trying to sell at a Q&A without being blatantly self-promotional, like, hey, everybody, come over to my booth and buy my shit.
Well, I think the thing is, PAX is special, for now at least, in that no attention-getting thing will ever work more than once. I mean, if someone does that witch thing next year, no one's going to stand for that. But doing every single thing once is awesome at PAX. Except the knuckle crack. That's got to happen every goddamn year.
And luckily it did. I was worried it wasn't going to happen.
I was going to make it happen if it didn't.
Someone came in and they saved the day.
That noise is just surprisingly sickening.
Oh, it's the greatest. It's my favorite.
So, we learned, we had the vision, like we talked about earlier, and we failed to achieve the vision because we did not account for the immediate competence of the people doing the tech between.
Yeah. I was worried that, okay, keynote ends, there's going to be applause. You can't start until the applause ends and people are sort of getting ready for the Q&A, right? But, and I was like, oh no, there might be some sort of, rock and roll musics for a minute or two before they begin the Q&A. I'll have to overpower it. So that was a challenge. But that they would just start it right away, immediately, at the moment that I should have, needed to start. It was
there was nothing to be done. It was a foregone conclusion.
Unless I suddenly gain the mutant powers of Banshee, the X-Man, it was not going to happen.
But think about this. This is like in the Mario Party vision. If you had the vision and you start the map and there's already small mushrooms lined up all the way down.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
But
we will reattempt.
We had
later.
Another opportunity to test our theory, and we now know that it is in fact solid gold. It worked. We're in line for the closing ceremonies, the Omegathon finale, and we're right in the freaking front of the line, right where the people are who do the inline entertainment. I think it's step in line game, something like that. We talked to them. They're pretty cool people, but they decided to have a dancing contest, and they're like, we need a guy and a girl. And me and Scott look at each other. And we look at our friend Katsu, and Scott starts yelling, Katsu, Katsu.
Well, I was looking
Katsu.
around, I'm like, oh, it's got to be an FRC person. I'm like, who, Katsu.
And Katsu looks up with this, what? And then, we do the same thing. I start yelling Katsu. Scott embraces my Katsuing. Everyone else starts joining in. The whole freaking line joins in. People didn't even know his name. They're yelling like, Yatsu, Yatsu, Yatsu. So you've got thousands of people yelling Katsu's name. There's a circle formed around him and he's screaming, I swear to God, I will kill you all. Mm-hmm. So of course he has to go up and do it. And of course he wins.
Of course.
Of course.
That's why I wasn't going to pick someone who was going to fail. I mean, if I would have picked Rim, it would have been like, okay, not a winner, fail.
I don't know if I could have won it, but Katsu, if anyone could have won it, it was Katsu.
And he did. He won it by a zillion.
I realize now that after having watched that college
And he
humor,
got a free Cardboard Tube Samurai figure, which is a very expensive toy.
but
I'd sell it on eBay if I was him.
we have a terrible power. If anyone wants to use this terrible power, just watch that college humor we linked to. It works almost anywhere.
Yep.
So, getting near the end, I think we have to end on this because this was like the moment. So, in the line, there's the line up room, which is something that anime cons could probably learn from. Of course, I don't know if they could manage it the way PAX does, but regardless, in the lineup room, it so happened that as we were all going into, the biggest event, they started playing Bohemian Rhapsody just before the line went in.
Yeah, it's like the line is, okay, guys, now you can start walking. And then they play Bohemian Rhapsody.
So Bohemian Rhapsody's playing, and people were singing along to stuff already anyway. So everyone in line starts singing Bohemian Rhapsody, but the line goes past the monitors, out the door, down a long hall, way off upstairs and everything. So as a result, we're rapidly, as a line, leaving the already playing Bohemian Rhapsody.
So we don't hear it being played anymore at all. It's in another room far behind us.
But the crowd kept singing it, and kept singing it, and kept singing it to a point that was scary. Like, we're walking, the music's long gone in the distance, everyone is still singing all the way through. People who were kind of in the area, like enforcers who saw the line coming, they're looking up like, are they singing Bohemian Rhapsody? And then I thought, all right, it's going to die at the instrumental part. It did not die. People did the instrumental part, and we made it all the way through.
And
the
this
entire song.
was for the Saturday night concerts, I believe. Yes,
I believe so.
And then, right, going into the closing ceremony's final Omegathon round, it was repeated. They did it again.
I think that is the PAX East thing now. The Bohemian Rhapsody continued meme.
Yep.
It
is now a tradition.
I mean, there was a point.
Let it be set in the stone.
There was a point where it fizzled out almost. Like everyone's kind of going,
But everyone's got it going in their head, and then
and
someone
then-
comes out with the right timing.
It was so beautiful. I could have cried. That was a moment that deserved a man tear. And then to cap off the whole week we had in Boston, we get in the cab to go back to the airport. And what plays on the radio but Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
So, I don't know. In conclusion, PAX East was 90 to 95% of the awesome that is PAX West. It was just...
The one thing at PAX East that really got me compared to pretty much every other convention ever was that basically people were constantly coming up to me and being like, hey, it was like nonstop.
That was actually weird. Like,
I mean, when I'm at conventions, even PAX West, right? Some people come up and are like, hey.
Like, hey,
but
nice
it's
panel.
not
Hey,
a
blah.
flood, right? It's not like, I mean, this wasn't celebrity level where you can't even move because there's people all around you, like, fuck. But it was like, hey, man, like every minute or two walking around, people would be like, hey. And it was like, wow, okay. How many more people are going to come up and say, hey?
And everyone had like interesting questions or things to say, or, oh, did you try this game? Or, yeah, I bought Burning Wheel, it's freaking awesome. Or, hey, so how do you win Jungle Adventure? Oh.
The other thing is that, of course, usually when people come up to you at a con, they're like, hey, we should do X. I want to run a game for you. I want to do this. I want to do that. Usually it's like, I really want to, but it's just not going to happen. Even at Kineticon, there were like two people wanted to play Burning Wheel, and I was like, all right, well, make it happen. Show up here and whatever. And then, of course, it just doesn't happen. They disappear or something, and you just can't. They're strangers. You don't meet up with them at the right time in the right place, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah, well, think about how
no
hard
matter
it
how
was.
much you try, it doesn't happen.
Think about how much trouble we had meeting up with our friend at Joystick ever. 2 PAXs.
Yeah, but, even with all that, we managed to meet up with everyone we had to meet up with, except like 2 people, and I think we're still in contact with them. I got their cards,
Yes.
so we're
but
gonna.
Dude, we totally
We'll
wanted
make it
to play
right.
Dogs in the Vineyard with you, like straight up. I really want to
And
play
those
that
other
game.
people, I forget who you are, who had a game that you made and you wanted to run it for us. I also wanted to play.
Yes, seriously, shout outs to everyone who said hi to us, everyone at our panels. And I think as Tycho said, this is the real PAX.
I don't know if he was being for serious.
It depends. What's he going to say at PAX West?
No, this is the real PAX. I was kidding about PAX East. Lol. West forever.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.